Jason Miller had always considered himself a simple man, a quiet, focused engineer stationed on the Orbital Science Research Station just beyond the Earth's atmosphere. The station had been set up to observe distant planets, conduct experiments, and collect data on the far reaches of the universe. Jason's daily life was a routine of calculations, repairs, and the occasional conversation with his fellow crew members. He was content, though a bit lonely. Being so far from Earth, communication with family and friends was limited, and the long stretches of silence in space didn't help. One evening, while Jason was working late in the control room, a red alert suddenly blared. The station's systems picked up an unusual signal, one that was faint but unmistakable. A ship had crash-landed on the nearby planet, only a few hundred miles from the station. The coordinates were clear, but no specific information about the craft had been recorded. Jason stood frozen in his chair for a moment, his heart racing. The signal was too weak to determine the identity of the craft, but it was unmistakably alien. The excitement and the dread of the unknown surged through him. He had read about alien encounters in his training, but the thought of one happening, to him, out here, alone, was terrifying. Despite his fear, he couldn't ignore the call to action. Without wasting any time, Jason contacted the station's mission control. "I'll go. It's my job," he said, trying to steady his shaking hands. They hesitated, but there was no one else closer. The ship had to be investigated immediately. Minutes later, Jason suited up in his space gear and prepared for the journey. The craft was in a relatively small, isolated area, which meant the mission would be dangerous. He boarded a smaller shuttle and began his descent toward the planet's surface. The shuttle glided smoothly down through the planet's atmosphere, the fiery glow of re-entry flickering across the windows. Jason's heart pounded in his chest as he thought about the alien craft awaiting him. His mind raced with possibilities. Was this the moment humanity had been waiting for? Or was it something far worse? Finally, the shuttle touched down on the key, rocky terrain. The craft was ahead, its strange metallic surface glimmering under the light of the distant sun. It was sleek, with angular lines that suggested advanced technology beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. The sight filled him with awe and dread at the same time. Jason carefully opened the shuttle's hatch and stepped out onto the alien soil. The air was thin, but breathable. The ground beneath his boots was a mix of dirt and strange crystal formations. He grabbed a flashlight from his belt and cautiously approached the wreckage. The craft was mostly intact, though it looked like it had been through a violent crash. Still, there was no sign of the pilot or any life forms. As he made his way closer, Jason's gaze fell on a faint glow from inside the wreckage. It was soft, almost ethereal, and it beckoned him forward. He couldn't help but feel a pull to it, an instinctive need to investigate. As he neared the opening of the ship, his flashlight illuminated the inside, revealing a figure lying motionless on the floor. It was an alien. Jason's heart skipped a beat. Her skin was a pale, shimmering blue, and her body was unlike anything he had ever seen. She appeared to be unconscious, her chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. Her features were delicate, her face framed by silver-blue hair. Jason stood still for a moment, unsure of what to do. Should he help her? Or should he leave her, knowing that bringing her back to the station could cause a whole new set of problems? His curiosity got the best of him, and he cautiously knelt beside her. Gently he reached out, his fingers brushing against her skin. It was cold, but not lifeless. He could feel a faint pulse under his fingertips. There was no time to waste. Jason immediately accessed his suit's medical systems and began scanning her for signs of life. The scans showed that she was critically injured, but nothing beyond what could be treated. His training kicked in, and Jason swiftly began to stabilize her. He worked quickly, knowing that the longer he took, the less chance she would have to survive. After a few minutes, her breathing steadied, and she opened her eyes, blinking as she tried to adjust to the light. Her gaze met Jason's, and for a moment neither of them spoke. There was something in her eyes, something ancient yet full of life. She seemed confused but not frightened. Despite the circumstances, Jason felt a strange sense of calm settle over him. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly, his voice steady but full of wonder. "You're safe now." She took a shaky breath and nodded, her voice weak but audible. "Thank you," she said in a language that was not human. Jason didn't understand it at first, but somehow he knew what she meant. It was as if their minds were connected, if only for a moment. He offered her a hand, helping her to sit up. She hesitated for a second before accepting, her delicate fingers gripping his gloved hand. "You're not from here?" Jason said, trying to make sense of the situation. "Who are you? Where did you come from?" The alien woman looked at him for a long time before answering. "I am Lyra," she said, her voice carrying a strange melodic quality. "I come from a faraway world, and I need your help." Jason stared at her in confusion. There were so many questions running through his mind, but before he could ask anything more, she added something that made his heart race. "I am not here by accident," she said softly, "and I need something from you. Something important." Jason helped Lyra to her feet, still trying to make sense of everything. He had never imagined that his routine life as an engineer would lead to something like this. A crash-landed alien, lying in front of him, asking for help. It was surreal. He looked at her, still unsure of what to do. His hands shook slightly as he helped her stand, but Lyra's calm presence made him feel less anxious. "You're safe now," Jason said again, though he wasn't entirely sure if that was true. He had no idea what her race was like or what would happen next, but one thing was clear. She was alive, and that was a start. Lyra gave him a soft smile. Her pale blue skin shimmered under the dim light from the wreckage, and her silver blue hair seemed to glow faintly, as if caught in the remnants of the ship's strange energy. She seemed weak, but there was a quiet strength in her eyes. Jason couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder about her. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. "Thank you," she said, her voice still soft but filled with gratitude. "You saved my life." Jason nodded, his mind racing. "I didn't expect to find you here, but I'm glad I did. What happened? Where did you come from?" Lyra hesitated for a moment, looking around as if considering how much she should reveal. Finally, she met his gaze again, her eyes intense yet calm. "I come from a distant star system," she said. "My people, we are not like yours. We have lived for many centuries and we have learned much, but our time is running out." Jason furrowed his brow, trying to understand. "What do you mean? What's happening to your people?" Lyra took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling, slowly. "Our species is dying. Our population has been shrinking for generations. We can no longer reproduce on our own. The hope of our people lies in finding another species to help us. We need your help." Jason didn't know what to say. He had read about alien species in his studies, but this was something entirely different. He had always imagined that any first contact would be with a more advanced race, one that would either help humanity or treat them like ants. But this was something more personal, something Jason wasn't sure he was ready for. "You want, help?" Jason asked cautiously. "I'm not sure how I can help you. I'm just an engineer. I'm not some kind of diplomat or whatever you need." Lyra seemed to sense his hesitation. "I understand your confusion," she said gently, "but I do not ask for just anything. What I need is more than what you can imagine." Jason felt a knot form in his stomach. "What do you mean?" Lyra's eyes softened. She stepped closer, her movements slow and deliberate. "What I need from you is simple. I need you to bear children with me." Jason's heart skipped a beat. He stared at her in disbelief. "What? Wait, what are you asking me?" Lyra continued, her voice steady. "Our species is infertile. We can no longer reproduce among ourselves. My people have studied many species and we have chosen yours. Your biology, it is unlike any we've encountered before. Your species is capable of producing offspring with us, with my kind. That is why I am here. I ask you to help us, help me, by bearing children with me." Jason's mind reeled. The room seemed to spin around him as he tried to process her words. It wasn't just a request for help. It was something far more profound, something that could change his life and possibly the course of history. How could he possibly respond to something like this? I don't know what to say," Jason stammered. "I didn't expect this. I mean, this is crazy. I don't even know you. How can I just agree to something like that?" Lyra's expression remained calm, her eyes filled with a deep, unspoken understanding. "I do not ask this lightly," she said. "I know it may seem strange, but our survival depends on it. We are running out of time. My species cannot survive without a new generation, and Earth holds the key to our future." Jason took a step back, his mind a whirl of confusion and disbelief. He had never been in a situation like this before. Everything he knew, everything he had learned was being turned upside down. Could he really agree to this? Could he help her people in such an intimate and unimaginable way? Lyra's voice interrupted his thoughts. "I do not expect you to decide right now," she said. "Take your time, but know that my people are watching and time is running out. If you agree, it will be the beginning of something much bigger than either of us. It will change the fate of two worlds." Jason struggled to find his voice. "I'm just one person. I can't make that kind of decision for an entire planet." Lyra smiled softly. "You would not be alone. Together we would make the future, not just for us, but for our species, and for yours as well. Our worlds can be linked in a way that has never happened before." Jason looked at her, his mind swirling with thoughts. The weight of her words pressed down on him. Could he really do it? Could he help save an entire species, even if it meant everything in his life would change forever? He felt the heaviness of the moment, unsure of what to do next. The silence between them was thick, and for a few long seconds neither spoke. Jason knew this was a decision that would affect the rest of his life. The only question was he ready to make it? Jason stood still, the weight of Lyra's words pressing on his chest like a heavy stone. His heart pounded, and his thoughts raced. How could she ask him for something so enormous? The implications of her request were beyond anything he had ever imagined. He had come to this alien planet to help, to discover new worlds, but he never expected to be put in the middle of something so personal, so intimate. Lyra's calm demeanor only added to the tension. She was waiting for his response, but Jason felt paralyzed. He wanted to be the one to make the right choice, but he didn't know what that even was. He had always lived his life by logic, by reason, but this wasn't something that could be calculated or analyzed. This was a decision that would affect not only his life, but the fate of two species. "I need some time," Jason said, his voice shaky. This is a lot to take in. I don't even know where to begin." Lyra nodded, her expression soft and understanding. She didn't push him, but Jason could tell that the pressure was growing. "I understand," she said quietly. "I did not expect you to agree immediately, but time is something we do not have much of. The longer we wait, the more difficult it becomes. My people are depending on me, and now they are depending on you as well." Jason looked away, his mind whirling. He had always been taught to help others, to put the needs of the many above the needs of the few. But this wasn't just about helping. This was about making a choice that could change the future of his people, Lyra's people, and perhaps the entire galaxy. "Why me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why did you come to Earth? There must be other species out there. Why choose humans?" Lyra's gaze softened. "Your species. You are resilient. You have overcome so many obstacles in your history, and your biology is unlike anything we have encountered. I believe that Earth can be a new home for us, a place where both our species can survive and thrive together. It is not just about having children. It is about creating a future, one that we can share. Jason let out a slow breath. And if I refuse? What happens then? Lyra's eyes darkened, but her voice remained steady. Then my people will perish. There is no other way. We have tried everything, and nothing has worked. We are desperate, Jason. You are our last hope. The gravity of the situation was becoming clearer with every word. Jason felt the cold hand of responsibility tighten around his chest. He had been so focused on the technical aspects of space exploration, discovering new planets, studying alien life, and solving complex equations, that he never considered the personal costs of such discoveries. This wasn't just about knowledge anymore. This was about survival, sacrifice, and the future. He turned and walked away from Lyra, needing space to think. The alien planet stretched out before him, silent and still, but filled with an underlying tension. He had always dreamed of something more, of making a real difference in the universe. But now that the opportunity had arrived, it felt overwhelming. His life had been simple until now. He was just a man with no great ambitions beyond doing his job and staying out of trouble. But this request from Lyra made him feel small, insignificant, and yet incredibly important at the same time. Could he really say yes? Could he bring himself to become a part of something so monumental? Lyra had trusted him with something so precious, something that would change both their worlds forever. He was a stranger to her, yet she had placed this enormous responsibility in his hands. As he walked through the alien landscape, Jason couldn't help but feel the weight of the decision pressing down on him. His mind kept replaying Lyra's words, the urgency in her voice. He thought about Earth, his family, his friends, the world he had left behind. Was he ready to sacrifice all of that for the survival of another species? After several minutes of walking, Jason stopped by a large rock formation. The sun was beginning to set, casting an orange glow across the sky. It was a peaceful sight, but it only made him feel more conflicted. He knew that Lyra's request was not just about her personal survival, it was about the survival of an entire species. But was he prepared to play such a pivotal role in that survival? What if this decision led to consequences he couldn't foresee? He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying to clear his mind. He needed to think clearly. There had to be a way to help without losing himself in the process. But the truth was, Jason didn't know if there was a way. He didn't know if he could make such an intimate decision based on logic alone. The stakes were too high. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jason returned to the wreckage where Lyra was waiting. She was sitting quietly, her eyes fixed on the sky, her expression unreadable. For a moment she seemed almost human, vulnerable, lost in her thoughts. He stood there for a few moments, watching her. Finally, he spoke. "I don't know if I can do this," he said softly. "I want to help you, I do. But this is too much. I need to know more about what this would mean. For both of us." Lyra nodded, understanding. "You are wise to be cautious. This is not a decision to be made lightly, but I hope you will come to understand in time why it is necessary." Jason sighed, feeling the weight of his responsibility grow heavier. "I don't know if I'm ready. I've never been ready for something like this." Lyra stood and walked toward him, her expression filled with quiet strength. "Perhaps none of us are ever truly ready, Jason. But sometimes the fate of many rests in the hands of one." Jason looked into her eyes, seeing the sincerity there. He knew that the time was coming when he would have to decide, one way or another. But for now, all he could do was continue thinking, continue weighing the consequences of his choice. Jason sat in silence, staring out at the alien landscape that stretched before him. The quiet hum of the ship behind him was the only sound breaking the stillness of the moment. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, each one colliding with the next. Lyra's words echoed in his ears, and the weight of her request grew heavier by the minute. She hadn't just asked for his help in saving her people. She had asked for something far more personal. something that would change the course of his life forever. But then, just when Jason thought he couldn't take the pressure anymore, Lyra spoke again, her voice soft yet filled with an undeniable sense of purpose. You still have many questions, Jason. I understand. But there is more I must tell you. There is more at stake than you know. Jason turned to face her, his brow furrowing. What do you mean? You've already told me that your people can't reproduce, that you need my help to survive. But what else is there? Lyra stepped closer, her movements graceful and sure. She looked at him with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. What if I told you that there is a way for you to join us, beyond just helping us to survive? A way for you to become a part of my world, of my people, in a way that goes beyond this moment, beyond just the children we would have together. Jason's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? How could I possibly join you? I'm human. I belong to Earth, not your world. Lyra smiled gently, as if she had been waiting for him to ask the question. Our people have advanced far beyond the limits of what you would consider possible. We have technology that allows us to manipulate time to extend life. We can alter our biology in ways that make us ageless. When a human, like you, joins with us, you are not just offering us your biology for the purpose of reproduction. You are becoming a part of us in a way that transcends normal boundaries. You would not just help us survive, Jason. You would help us thrive. And in return, she paused, her voice lowering. In return, you would gain something no human has ever had. Immortality. Jason stared at her, his mind racing. Immortality? The idea was so foreign, so mind-boggling, that it almost didn't seem real. He had heard of myths and legends of eternal life, but he had never considered it a reality. And now, here Lyra was, telling him that not only could he help her people, but he could live forever, if he agreed to her request. But immortality? How could that even be possible, Jason asked, his voice a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Lyra's eyes sparkled with a quiet wisdom. Our race has spent centuries perfecting the art of bioengineering. We have unlocked the secrets of time, of life itself. When a human and one of us bond, when we create a child together, it is not just the merging of our biology. It is the merging of two worlds, two species. And when that bond is formed, it opens the door to a new kind of life, one that is ageless, untouched by the ravages of time. Jason couldn't believe what he was hearing. The very idea of living forever, of never aging, never dying, was something he had only seen in science fiction. Yet here was Lyra, offering him the chance to experience it. It was tempting, more tempting than anything he had ever imagined. But even as the idea lingered in his mind, another thought kept creeping in. Was this really the right choice? Was it worth the risk? I don't know, Jason said, his voice shaky. I've lived my life with the knowledge that death is a part of it. It's what makes everything valuable. If I lived forever, what would that mean for me, for the people I left behind on Earth? I can't even begin to imagine what my life would be like with no end to it. Lyra nodded, her expression softening. I understand your hesitation. You are right to be cautious. Immortality is not something to be taken lightly. But think of the possibilities, Jason. You could see the future unfold. You could witness the growth and change of civilizations, of new worlds being born. You could experience the evolution of our species, the advancement of knowledge, and the beauty of life itself, without fear of death. You would be a part of something greater than yourself. Jason's mind raced with the possibilities. To see the future. To witness the rise of new worlds, new technologies. The thought was intoxicating, and a part of him couldn't help but feel drawn to it. He had always been someone who loved to learn, to explore, to discover new things. The idea of being able to do that for an eternity was both thrilling and terrifying. But as the excitement built, Jason couldn't ignore the voice in the back of his mind that whispered doubts. Was this truly what he wanted? Was it worth giving up everything, his humanity, his life on Earth, everything he had known, to become something else, something alien? Would immortality truly be a gift, or would it be a curse? I don't know. If I can make that decision, Jason said quietly, his eyes meeting Lyra's. This is all so overwhelming. I've spent my life planning for the future, but now it feels like everything is changing in a way I can't control. Lyra stepped closer, her hand gently resting on his arm. You do not have to make this decision alone. You can take time. Think about it. But know that what we offer is not just a gift, but a chance for something much bigger than either of us. Jason looked out at the alien horizon once more. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, and for a moment it felt as if time itself had stopped. Everything had changed. He had come here to help, to learn, and now he was faced with a choice that would change not just his life but the fate of two worlds. As the stars above began to twinkle in the growing darkness, Jason knew that he had to make a decision. One that would shape his future and possibly the future of humanity. The temptation of immortality was real, but was it the right choice? Jason's mind was a storm of thoughts. He had never felt so conflicted in his life. The offer Lyra presented was beyond anything he could have imagined. Immortality, an endless life, a chance to witness the rise and fall of civilizations, to see the universe evolve. The temptation was powerful, but the weight of that gift felt heavier with each passing moment. He spent the next few days thinking, pacing through the alien terrain, his mind constantly replaying the conversation. Lyra's words echoed in his head. What we offer is not just a gift, but a chance for something bigger than either of us. It was a chance to be a part of something extraordinary, something greater than himself. But was it worth leaving behind everything he had known? Was he ready to give up his life on Earth, the family and friends he would never see again, to live forever in a strange world? As the days passed, the tension between them grew. Jason had not made his decision yet, and Lyra was growing impatient. The urgency in her voice when she spoke of the fate of her people seemed to echo louder with each day that passed. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting a warm glow across the landscape, Lyra found him standing at the edge of a cliff, staring out at the horizon. She approached him quietly, her steps light but deliberate. "You've been distant," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of her concern. "You've had time to think, but you are still unsure. Why?" Jason turned to face her, his expression conflicted. "I'm not sure how to feel about all of this. I've been thinking about it nonstop, and I can't get past the idea that I'm being asked to give up so much. I've spent my entire life as a human with all the ups and downs that come with it. But now you're asking me to give that up. To leave Earth behind, to leave my family, my home. And for what? To live forever in a world that isn't even mine?" Lyra's gaze softened. She stepped closer, standing beside him, her eyes looking out at the distant stars. "I understand your hesitation. I truly do. I did not expect you to make this decision lightly. But you must understand, Jason, our time is running out. The fate of my people depends on this. We have no future without you." Jason's heart ached. He saw the desperation in her eyes, the weight of centuries of her people's survival pressing down on her shoulders. But still, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with the whole situation. The idea of immortality was both alluring and terrifying. How could he make a decision about something so monumental without fully understanding the consequences? He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "I keep thinking about what this would mean. What it would mean for me, for my future. You say I would live forever, but what would I be living for? The thought of being stuck in time, watching everything around me change while I stay the same. It's a terrifying thought. I'd never be able to go back. I'd never be able to have the life I've always known. And what happens when all my friends and family are gone? What happens when everyone I love is just a memory?" Lyra listened quietly, her face unreadable. She understood his fear, his doubts. She knew that accepting immortality was not an easy decision for any human. But it was something she had already come to terms with. Her people had no choice. They needed him. "I cannot promise that immortality will be easy," Lyra said quietly. "But I can promise that you will be part of something greater than yourself. You will help my people, and in return, you will have the chance to witness the beauty of the universe in ways that no human ever has. You will be able to see things, experience things that others can only dream of." Jason shook his head, unable to fully accept her offer. "I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I'm just one person. I can't carry the weight of an entire species on my shoulders. What if I fail? What if I regret this decision for the rest of my life?" Lyra's gaze softened even further, and for the first time Jason saw the vulnerability in her eyes. "You will not be alone, Jason. You will never be alone. You will have me. And together, we can build a future for my people. You do not have to carry the burden alone." Jason felt a pang of guilt. He wanted to help. He wanted to believe in the future Lyra spoke of, the hope that they could build something new, something lasting, but he couldn't ignore the fear in his heart. Immortality was a powerful thing, but it was also a heavy burden to bear. It was a life that would never end, a future that would stretch on forever. As the stars began to shine brighter above them, Jason made his decision. He turned to face Lyra, his expression firm but uncertain. "I don't know if I can say yes," he said, his voice filled with hesitation. "I don't know if I'm ready for immortality, but I do know that I can't ignore the possibility of helping you, helping your people. Maybe that's enough for now. Maybe that's where we start." Lyra nodded, her face breaking into a soft smile. "I understand, Jason. This is not an easy decision and I will not pressure you. But know that whatever choice you make, you will not be alone. My people will never forget what you have done for us." Jason took a deep breath, still unsure of what the future held. But for the first time since he had arrived on this alien world, he felt a sense of resolve. He didn't have to make this decision all at once. He could take his time, learn more, and understand the consequences of his actions. And whatever he decided, he knew one thing for certain: his life would never be the same again. The days continued to pass, each one carrying a heavy weight that Jason couldn't escape. He spent most of his time walking the alien landscape, seeking some form of clarity, though none came. Lyra's offer, her request, still echoed in his mind like a distant, haunting melody. It felt like a dream, something unreal, but it was all too real. She had told him that immortality was possible. She had told him that he could live forever, see the world and the universe evolve, be a part of something greater than himself. But Jason couldn't stop thinking about the cost. What would he lose in exchange for this endless life? What about the Earth, the people he loved, his family? Would they even remember him after a century or 1,000 years? His mind spun in circles as he tried to make sense of it all, but the more he thought, the more the decision seemed impossible. Lyra, too, was waiting. She had given him space, time to think, but she was patient. And Jason knew that time was something her people didn't have much of. She had made that clear when they first spoke. But what about him? Was he ready to make the sacrifice? Was he prepared to leave his humanity behind? One evening, as the two of them sat together by a small fire they had built, Jason turned to her. The night sky above them was clear, filled with countless stars that seemed to shimmer with an ancient knowledge. For a moment there was nothing but the crackling of the fire, the warmth against the cool air, and the sound of their breathing. "I've been thinking a lot," Jason said, his voice quiet but determined. "I don't think I can live forever, not like you're asking me to. I don't know if I could handle it. I don't know if anyone could." Lyra didn't say anything at first. She simply stared into the fire, her features softened by the flickering light. The shadows danced on her face, highlighting the strength and vulnerability she carried. Her blue skin shimmered, and for a brief moment, Jason saw how truly alien she was. She wasn't just a stranger to him. She was something from another world, from a place far beyond anything he could imagine. "I understand," she said after a long pause, her voice calm. "It's not an easy choice. I never meant to make it feel like you had no other option. This is a lot to ask of anyone, especially someone like you, someone who is human." Jason looked at her, his heart heavy. "But you need me. You need humans, don't you? You told me your people can't survive without us. If I refuse, you'll lose everything. I can't be the one to make that decision for you. I don't want that kind of responsibility. I'm just one person." Lyra's gaze softened as she turned to face him. She reached out, placing a hand gently on his arm. "You are not just one person, Jason. You are more than that. You have no idea what you mean to me, what you could mean to my people. It's not just about having children. It's about the connection we would create. The bond between our species, between you and me. You are the key to a future we never thought possible." Jason stared at her, trying to understand what she was saying. The weight of her words sank deep into him. It wasn't just about the children. It was about something deeper, something he hadn't fully realized until now. Lyra wasn't just asking him to help her people. She was asking him to join them, to become a part of their future in a way that was more than biological. She wanted him to be a bridge between their worlds. "I don't know if I can do that," Jason said, his voice shaky. "I don't know if I can change everything I've ever known. What happens when Earth is gone, when everything I knew is lost? Will I still have a place in this new world? Will I still be me?" Lyra's expression softened even further, her eyes filled with understanding. "You will always be yourself, Jason. But you will also be something more. You will be a part of us in a way that no one has ever been before. And you will not be alone. You will have me and my people. We will build something together. A future, one where both of our worlds can survive, side by side." Jason felt his heart swell with emotion, but he couldn't shake the doubts that still lingered in his mind. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to carry that burden. I don't know if I'm ready for all of this. What if I make the wrong choice?" Lyra's eyes sparkled in the firelight as she looked at him. "There is no perfect answer, Jason. Life is full of choices, some easy, some impossible. But I believe that we are stronger when we make those choices together. No matter what happens, you won't be alone. We will face the future side by side." Jason felt the weight in his chest lighten, but it didn't go away. The uncertainty, the fear, was still there, but it was tempered by something else, something he couldn't ignore. The sense that somehow this was the right thing to do. This wasn't just about saving her people. It was about forging a new path, one that neither of them could have imagined on their own. He took a deep breath and turned to her, his voice steady but filled with a quiet resolve. "I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'm ready for what you're asking, but I'll try. I'll try to help you, Lyra. I'll try to help your people." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "That's all," I asked Jason. "That's all I've ever wanted. Together we can build something new, a future where both of our worlds can thrive." Jason nodded slowly, still uncertain but no longer afraid. The decision hadn't come easily, but it was a decision he could live with. He wasn't sure what the future held, but he knew one thing for sure. His life was about to change in ways he couldn't begin to understand, and for the first time in a long time he was ready to face it. The decision had been made, but Jason still felt a deep unease as the reality of it settled in. He had agreed to help Lyra, but the weight of his choice was more than he could have ever prepared for. As the days passed, he found himself thinking less about the consequences and more about the future, about what it meant to be part of something so monumental. He had decided to help Lyra and her people, but that didn't mean the fear had gone away. It still lingered at the edges of his mind, waiting to resurface when he least expected it. Lyra, on the other hand, seemed relieved, almost as if a great burden had been lifted from her shoulders. The tension between them had eased, and the once awkward silence between them had turned into a comfortable companionship. She no longer seemed like the mysterious, otherworldly alien he had first encountered. Now she felt more like an equal, someone with whom he could share his thoughts and fears. It was early one morning when Lyra found him standing at the edge of a cliff once again. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft orange light across the landscape. Jason stared out at the distant horizon, lost in thought. The view was breathtaking, and for a brief moment, he could almost forget the weight of his decision. Lyra approached him quietly, her presence gentle but undeniable. She stood beside him, looking out over the same landscape that had captured his attention. "You've made your decision," she said, her voice soft but full of meaning. Jason nodded slowly, not taking his eyes off the horizon. "I have. But it feels unreal. I thought I had more time to think, to understand what this would mean for me, for Earth. But now that it's done, I can't help but wonder what I'm walking into." Lyra's gaze was steady, unwavering. "The future is always uncertain, Jason. That is part of what makes it so beautiful. You may not know what lies ahead, but I believe in the path we are taking. Together, we will build something new, something that will give my people hope again." Jason took a deep breath and turned to face her, meeting her eyes. "I still have so many questions. I don't know if I'll ever feel fully ready for what's coming. But I know I can't walk away from this. Not now." Lyra smiled, her expression filled with warmth. "I understand your fear, and I won't ask you to be ready. But you've already shown that you are more than capable of making difficult choices. Together, we will face the unknown." There was a long pause as Jason considered her words. The truth was, he wasn't sure if he would ever feel ready. He wasn't sure if anyone ever truly was. But he knew that he couldn't turn back now. This wasn't just about helping her people. It was about becoming part of something greater than himself. It was about forging a future that neither of them could have imagined on their own. "I don't know what the future holds," Jason said quietly, his voice steady. "But I'm willing to find out. I'll help you, Lyra. I'll help your people. I'll do whatever I can to make sure we build that future." Lyra's eyes shone with gratitude, and for a moment, Jason saw the deep relief that had been building in her all this time. She stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you, Jason. You don't know what this means to me, to all of us." Jason felt a strange mix of emotions as he looked into her eyes. He felt the weight of his decision, but also a sense of purpose that he hadn't felt before. He had made the choice to help her people, and now he had to see it through no matter what. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting light over the landscape, Jason felt a sense of clarity that he hadn't experienced before. The fear, the doubt, the uncertainty. They were still there, lingering in the back of his mind. But they were no longer as overwhelming. He had made his choice, and now, it was time to move forward. "I don't know what comes next," Jason said, his voice filled with quiet determination. "But I'll face it with you." Lyra nodded, her gaze never leaving his. "Together we can face anything. You are not alone in this, Jason. We will face the future side by side." For the first time since he had arrived on this alien world, Jason felt a sense of peace settle over him. He had made his choice, and while it was a difficult one, he knew it was the right one. The future was still uncertain, but now, for the first time, he felt ready to face it.